Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. So welcome back to Downsizing Roadmap. We're so excited we have Lezlie Burks here today, and she's going to talk to us about all things estate sales. She's from Options here in Dayton, Ohio, but estate sales are kind of similar all around the country, I'm sure. So she's going to kind of give us some great information about how estate sales work and answer all the questions that we have about this kind of thing. So welcome, Lezlie.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you. Thank you. You can give a lot of information that I think a lot of people ask us when we meet with them.
Yep.
All about estate sales.
I'm Jody Roscoe. I didn't say that part. I'm Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
And you can say your name so they can hear your voice.
And I'm Lezlie Burks.
There we go. Okay. So, all right. So, an estate sale. Tell us a little bit about how an estate sale were different from a garage sale. Just as we kind of get started, like what's an estate sale?
So an estate sale basically is where you want to have, quality items, and they can be even simple items, but the difference is that people for a garage sale want everything for nothing. And for an estate sale, we're actually working for the estate. So we want to get as much money for the items that we could. So a garage sale basically is kind of like a low-end sale. That's probably the lowest. And then you would do maybe a liquidation sale after that. And an estate sale would be probably the top. So you're getting more money and you're actually looking things up. You're seeing the value of those things too. So it's not just like you're just going to have a nickel or a dime or a dollar table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun to, see all those different things, but it's a little bit higher end,
Okay.
I would say.
If someone is looking at their home or the home of a family member, what would you say would lead someone to think, I should probably look into an estate sale? What are the, what's the criteria of maybe I should or always investigate that, or is there some signs?
Yes, I think a lot of times people call us, especially realtors will call us when it's a little too late and they have to have the house closed and they're closing in 3 to 4 weeks. And we can talk about the process in length later. But I would say you really need to plan ahead with your person and try to, I kind of forgot where we're going with that.
Why they would need an estate sale.
Yes, thank you. So I would say if your house, a lot of people think that the furniture is what's really going to bring the money in. They don't think about the small items that are in the house. So it could be costume jewelry, it could be kitchenware, it could be bathroom, anything like that, sheets and towels and stuff like that too. So I think if you look at a home and you have at least half of a home left over with items, you're probably going to have enough to do an estate sale.
That's a great point, because we do have a lot of people who are moving to another home, so they're taking some of their things, and so the question is like, do you have enough for an estate sale, or what does that look like?
Yeah.
And so half is a good thought process of if you're gonna have half of the stuff, it's worthwhile to have, because sometimes if you take too many things, the estate sale isn't going to work for you, and it isn't going to work for them. It's just not going to be a good
fit. Yes.
I think when we first met you, that was one of the most interesting things. And what we see people asking us about, like you said, is their furniture or antiques or those big items. But you were saying the big sellers and what will add up to a sale really is the everyday small items. And, some of it was just so interesting, the things that people that routinely come to get cleaning supplies, and you said, don't even throw away the half-used box of tissue. Someone will buy it, and all of that.
Which we made that mistake because when we first met you, we had my mom's house, which had all my mom's stuff and all my grandma's stuff and all my grandpa's stuff in there, even though he'd been gone for a long time. So much stuff in that house.
There was a lot.
There was a lot.
But it was
and you
fun.
saw it after we had 2 dumpsters.
Yeah, I probably would have told you not to throw half of that away.
I know, and that is the thing, because we did throw a lot of things away, and some of them were genuinely trash, broken things and things that weren't. But we probably threw away things that we didn't need to, and I think we donated all the clothes before you came, and we were trying to get ourselves. It just feels like, oh my gosh, we should be doing something. But what we should be doing is calling you first.
Yes, call first.
Yeah.
And then really you just have to take out what you want from the home first. That's the key part, which I think a lot of homeowners are like, well, let me just have them come out and then I'll decide what I want to keep. So we ask them in the beginning, are we about 90% sure what the family wants to keep out of the home before we make a trip? Of course, it's a free consultation for all of our companies, I believe they are. But I think just knowing not to throw those certain things away or don't go through them, I think the key point is just take out and remove what you want, remove personal items, remove any personal paperwork, checkbooks, or anything like that. And then let the estate sale just determine what is for sale and what's sellable and what's not. Because we kind of have an eye of what will sell, like Heather was saying earlier. The cleaning people come to our sales and they buy those items. It doesn't matter to them if they're half full. Same thing with yard chemicals. We have a guy named Steve, and he comes and he buys all of our yard chemicals at every sale. So you get to know your people and you know what they sell, but it is the small things that will add up. So I would highly recommend don't throw anything away, and that's usually the common thing because we do different charities too, which we can talk about, but they do all the clothes and they do all those kind of things too. So that's the key thing is just take out what you want and then let the estate sale company do the rest for you.
Yeah. So walk us through an estate sale from start to finish. So you come over to our house, and what are we talking about?
So usually they'll call and you talk to them on the phone, find out a little bit of information, location, make sure it's not too far, make sure it's in your area. That's close enough because your groupies, as I call, will come and follow you to estate sales. So you want to check out where their location is. And then you just meet with them, with a family. Sometimes they're just downsizing. Sometimes they lost a loved one. So once you meet with them, then you kind of walk through the house with them, see if there's enough inventory. And by that, I mean everybody's estate sales companies are different. Some may only have like maybe a $5,000 quota. Some may have $15,000. Some may have $20,000. Not take a sale unless it has that much inventory. So you want to walk through the home and see how much inventory is in the home with the homeowner, see what they're keeping and what's selling. And then once that's done, then you just basically walk through a contract with them, and then you will set up the dates of when we'll be coming in to start the process, and then we have the sale. And then afterwards, there's lots of other options that we offer, hence our name options. But there's lots of other piece parts to it later that you can do to help clear out the house, to donation and things like that too. But I would say more importantly, it's just meeting with them first, making that connection, and you have to feel comfortable with who you hire. You want to feel good about that person that you're hiring to do your estate sale, as well as we have to feel comfortable with them too. But most of the time, it works out pretty good.
So tell me about the pricing process. Like so you sign the contract, you're like, okay, we're good, we're going to go forward. Then tell me what happens next before the sale.
Yeah, so this is another thing people don't realize is that you're paying us to help you with this process. So again, just remove what you want. We will take everything out of cabinets, we'll set everything on tables. I like to make things look presentable and maybe do a little decorating with things too so they can see in their own home. Once that everything is removed from everything and put on tables, then there's a process we go through and we price things. And a lot of the estate sale companies will use anywhere from 2 to 4 different apps on your phone, and you see what it's sold for last. It's not so much what you're asking for, because a lot of homeowners think, oh, well, I saw this listed for this much. And they have to remember that just because it was listed for that much doesn't mean that's what it's worth. So you can do nationwide, worldwide apps. So you can do as big or as small as you want. And that's how we go with our pricing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as the sale progresses, then there are specials each day after the first day where there's discounts applied too.
Okay. So what I felt like the best thing about having you come to my mom's house was that I wasn't doing it. and so sometimes I think people will make a decent amount of money. Sometimes they might not make a huge amount of money,
Right.
But it's still done.
It is still done. And that's where sometimes we have a threshold that we prefer.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
do.
it's a business.
It
You
is a
need to-
business,
yeah.
right? But we do give back to the community. So usually once a month we'll do one that's more of a charity to help the people. Maybe the family. It's only the wife is still here and the husband's gone, and there's no other family. They didn't have children. So as my husband would tell you, I have a hard time saying no.
Mm-hmm.
So I always want to help everyone out. So I'll say, okay, well, we'll come in. But, they're just appreciative like you. They're not doing it. They don't have any help to do it. They don't know the resources of how to get the house emptied within 30 to 45 days
Yeah.
and have it ready to turn over to the new owner. So having that from ours is like a start to stop finish company. But, having that, it just helps them out, and it's okay. But they may not have enough, but they're okay with that so long as it got the house empty. We've done probably at least 5 of those a year where
Yeah.
they're just excited that we were able to help them. They didn't really make a whole lot, but the house was empty and cleaned out and everything too. So
Yeah. So, I mean, we did make some money on Mom's stuff, but it was nice to have you guys just be able to come and price it, because there's a couple things. You don't know what's worth money and what isn't worth money,
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to do that on your own, you're like, oh my gosh, should I keep this? Should we be selling this? Should we donate this? Should we, we don't know. But if it sells at the estate sale, that means it had value. And if it doesn't, then donating was the way to go. And I think that mindset around it should be there, so that you aren't feeling like, I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, maybe you have some that are like this. If people had bought really things that were really expensive in the first place, and have kept their value, there's probably ones that do make a decent amount of money, because
some.
Yeah. And then there's some that are just mid, right? And so there's things in the house that, have value, and some things that probably don't, but you don't know how to sort it, we don't know how to sort it.
And that cost of time, item by item, when it's not what you do every day. Where do I go sell this?
Yeah.
Who will buy it? With the estate sales, you have a built-in audience. Because you have those groupies, as you referred to them, but you have those people locally that know, your company and know the estate sale websites and are watching for the sales. And so by someone choosing to use an estate sale company, they have that much broader audience for the items and the potential to sell it, versus just thinking, oh, I could, save money by doing it myself, but where are you going to get that in front of the right buyer? So
I think a lot of times I hear, oh, well, I put it on Facebook Marketplace, they never show up, right?
Yeah.
So that's a downer. The other thing too, we like to try to be green. So we look at our company as estate sale people as a whole, is that we're being green. We're trying to find new homes for those things versus just throwing them away, right? I will say the one thing difference with a garage sale is that I can't tell you how many times I have people come in and they'll say, oh, I just bought one of these at a garage sale last year for like $2, and it's at our estate sale for $200. So that's where the difference, I feel, comes into play, to have that expertise from an estate sale company, because a lot of times you get into the same year and you see 5 and 6 of the same things that whole year. So you already know what you sold it for last, so it takes a little bit less research. But having that knowledge, because you would have sold it for $2, we sold it for $200, that's a big difference for the estate.
Right.
So I think the garage sale part is where a lot of people will go, because they don't know what they have, because they don't take the time to look it up, or they don't have the resources. A lot of those apps you have to pay for, which if you're just going to do a garage sale once a year or something,
there's nothing worse than a garage sale.
I would rather chew my arm off than have a garage sale, but that's just me. I'm like, I paid $100 for this. I priced it at $3, and you're like, could I give a quarter for it? I'm like, no, I'm going to donate it. You don't even deserve it.
Exactly.
No, I'm kidding.
True, very true. You do get tired of that.
I don't get to that point. I'm just like, garage sale, nope, donation. Like, no.
We had one, I don't know, it's been a while now, because I've put my foot down and I was like, I'm not doing it. But Mark was like, my husband was like, oh, we should have a garage sale. We, though, meaning me, is what that kind of ended up being. But we did let the kids sell their toys and keep their money from it. And it was a good, when they were littler, good, making change and, all of the things.
It's a good lesson. Good lesson for them. But
no, I'm good. I'm out.
No, I don't think I've ever held a garage sale.
Yeah, it's no fun.
No.
And Facebook Marketplace is fine if you have one thing or two things, but if you have a lot of things, that's overwhelming. And I think there's a little bit of a safety factor. You don't know who's coming to
meet him in a public place, and you can't really take a dresser or a bed to a public place. So I think there's definitely concern there where, at an estate sale, you have security, you have many people walking around the home, and they're protecting. A lot of people don't want people in their home, but then when we explain to them, we have, some people that are in uniform, some that aren't. We have people that are spread through the house on every floor, so it makes them feel a bit more comfortable that way too. But for sure.
It's a great process.
Yeah, no, it was actually so relieving to have you just be like, yep, we're gonna handle this for you, Jody.
We got your back.
Come back and it will be done.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you have any interesting stories of things that just you were surprised to come across and sell and amazing?
Good stories.
Yeah, good stories.
They have to be clean, right?
Yes.
So I will say there's been some really good things that we've given back to the families. So on some of the families that are looking for a certain specific item, right? So this one house we ended up finding, and it was a great cousin or second cousin, and they were these really old handmade, like you would wear at church for a Christmas costume party or something. And they were old and they were in the box, and I said, let's take it out of the box because it didn't look as nice, right? Again, it's about presentation. And so underneath there was in a bank envelope with $1,000 worth of $20 bills. And it was actually one of our first couple estate sales that we did. And so we called the homeowner, and anything we do, we put it in a certain place. I won't tell you where, but we put it in a certain place in the house. And so the homeowner knows where to come and get it. And if they're not able to come and get it and secure it, we can take it off and, put it in a safe. But just be able to give that back to them. I think they were really shocked that, oh my gosh, they found money and they gave it back to us.
Yeah.
And then another time we found a piece of jewelry that a lady was looking for. It was from her husband who had passed. And so that was really special too. So we found the ring, and she was just head over heels. But we pull everything apart, we pull everything out, and we just search, especially when we know we're looking for things. If the homeowner tells us, hey, I lost this, and of course that's going to make us look harder because it's more sentimental to them, which means a lot to me. So
some questions we've gotten, like we've had people who have collected art and they're like, this art is worth all this money, and I literally have no idea whether it is worth any money or no money, or they paid a lot of money and it's not worth money, or they paid a lot of money and it's worth more money. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you do with art?
So art it can be very touchy with the homeowner. So again, you have to be respectful and put kid gloves on because they feel more value in it, maybe in art or furniture, but with artwork, you have to remember they probably bought it from like a museum or like on a cruise ship, right? Things like that. They're
or the artists themselves at some place.
Exactly.
Or,
And so they're paying that premium. So to me, I'm always like, there are some artists that will hold value, obviously, the well-known Picassos and all those. But there are some that you're paying basically the premium price. And so as soon as you drive that piece of artwork off the
like
showcase
a car
there,
lot.
like a car lot, it's going to go down in price. So it's just one of those things to think about where it's emotionally hard for them to let go. It was in the family maybe or something, but you just do your best. If you have somebody or you don't know somebody, definitely have an artist as far as an appraiser come in to help you with those items too. Is always smart. We have a well diversified team, so we have great people with art and pottery, but if you're not sure, it's always best to call in an expert, I think, on that part. And
I agree. I think that's always a hard one. It's like, this art is worth money. I'm like, okay, I don't know.
We have a couple pieces that we bought on a cruise, and there were several thousands of dollars, right? And but you get it home, and we enjoy it. We love our artwork. But if I were to do an estate sale on my own home, knowing that I wouldn't expect what I paid, if I paid $7,000 or $10,000 for it, I'm not going to get even half of that. So it's just one of those
Let's
markups.
talk about those expectations a little bit. I think we see that on furniture a lot.
Yes, you do.
And
it's Ethan Allen. I paid a lot of money.
Yes.
Right.
And
Yes, it's handed on.
do you think
Yes.
I mean, do you think it's just that much of a shift in, our culture and our houses? Because younger folks don't want the heavy, full dining set for 12 and hutches and entertainment centers. And tell us about that.
The big deep TV that we don't have anymore.
Right, exactly. Those are not in style. So I feel like a lot of times the younger kids are starting to turn around a little bit. I think when we had COVID visiting all of us here, they found out that like a certain manufacturer down by Westchester wasn't quite standard. It was good for dorm room furniture. And I think because they couldn't get furniture from them during that time, that they started really shopping at estate sales. And so they were realizing and seeing how well made the furniture is. But you're still not going to get that value back, right, Heather, if you paid $5,000 for it. I have a really pretty sofa in my living room, and I paid probably too much, but I love it. And I would expect maybe I might get maybe $500 or $600 for it at the end.
Right.
But people just don't realize that antiques have a soft market right now. They think that antiques are worth a lot. And China, I have all this China. So hutches, those are hard sells too, China hutches, because they take up so much space, and people don't put out all their China anymore. But I think a little bit of it is turning a little bit now where they're going to be green too. So they want to preserve and maybe refinish or paint the piece too.
So this is such a funny thing that I've been thinking about, or what that's going to look like, because we have thousands and thousands, millions of homes of people, really,
Yeah, we do.
who are turning 65. What was it, 11,000 people a day are turning 65 between between now and 2028 or something. We have just so many people.
None of us, though, right?
Wow. Not 65, but maybe. So
Let's not do that math.
yeah, we're not going to do any of that math. But and not that 65 means, oh my God,
No.
that they're going to be selling their house or whatever. But I have been thinking about just the amount of stuff when we go into people's houses, selling houses. We go into people's houses all the time, and you go into people's houses all the time. And so if we have millions of houses with that much stuff, what is that really going to look like for our planet?
Yeah.
And the fact that, what is that next generation going to do with all this stuff? And are they going to, turn around and be like, okay, no, this is great, and I want this cherry bed set now, and I want, because the furniture was really well made. Right. And we did all spend, our parents spend a lot of money on it at the time.
At the time.
So I just have thought about that, just the amount of things that are going to be coming into the back out of everybody's houses and closets and garages and attics.
And where's it going?
And back into and where's it going? And we don't want it to go to the landfill. I mean,
we don't.
We don't want that to have happen. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Skip the generation. I feel like my mom's things, probably wouldn't want much of those, right? But then you see the grandkids and the aunts and uncles and the nieces of those, they all want those things. So I feel like it's skipping a generation. So it might not be your kids that want it, but, definitely ask the grandkids or even cousins and nephews and nieces and things like that too, because that younger generation loves the older stuff. I mean, between mid-century modern and clothing, and that keeps it, again, out of the landfill. So,
yeah. And we always tell people to talk to their family first.
Absolutely.
Before. And I think if somebody loves something, that's probably a better give than it is to how much money they're going to get for any kind of piece of furniture.
That is our number one thing we tell people.
Yeah.
We'd rather see the family keep it.
Yeah.
Even if they're not sure yet during the process of, initial consultation, I'll be like, but it's okay, you can decide later. It's not like you have to make that decision now, but we would rather you keep it in the family than for us to try to sell it. So that's always been our first, because if it's that important, it should stay in the family. If it's a trunk or, somebody made the cabinet.
Right, has an
grandpa,
amazing story about it, and somebody wants it.
And that monetary exchange is never going to be...
It's never going to be enough.
To do that. So we have some common myths and misconceptions on here. Estate sale, here's one of them. Estate sales are only for the wealthy. And
that's not true.
Yes, tell us why that's not true. That it doesn't need to be, a large home full of stuff and still be the right process for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some homes that are maybe 1,000 square feet and maybe 1,100 or 1,200 square feet. And it's amazing what you find, which is one of the things that I really enjoy about this job, is that you go into other people's homes, you treat it with respect, but you kind of find some unusual, neat, one-of-a-kind things. And then when you research it, you're like, wow, this is worth quite a bit. So those are those pieces that we find by looking them up to see what they are. So it doesn't have to be a big house. It could be a small house, and you don't have to be wealthy. Because, again, you might have paid $5,000 for that couch a few years ago, but let me tell you, you're not going to get $5,000.
Right.
And I would try to tell people that, you've enjoyed it for 20 years. Right. So the couch is obviously not still worth that.
Yeah, we talk about that with people all the time, too. Even about improvements that they do to their house. It's like you may not get 100% back for each of those, those things, but you've lived with it and enjoyed it, right? And so that part where you've enjoyed it or used it is also value that you're getting. It's not like just straight transfer to money later.
Right. You've used up that.
Yeah, you used up some of it. Yeah, sometimes all of it.
That's right. That's right.
In your couch.
Yeah.
And I do think people keep things for so much longer than they think, right? And so, you're like, I just got that couch. And it's like, yeah, 20 years ago, you just got that couch.
That's right.
Time flies by and you don't realize, for sure. So myth number 2, we've just talked about everything will sell for full value. So we know that is not going to happen.
Not going to happen. A lot of times when we meet the person, and we tell them to trust the process, right? Because estate sales, again, how many are there that weekend? How many people are we competing against? How many people just bought a bedroom set last week and don't need one this week? But I think that they just trust the process. But again, I think people think that the furniture and things is what brings the money in. But if you price it correctly, you're still going to get a good return in the end.
Yeah. So that ties into the third. I should throw out anything that looks old or worn.
Well, okay, so if you have some really old socks, we're going to keep this clean. So if you have some really old socks, yes, get rid of those. We don't sell like undergarments that are used, but they're new and still in packaging. We'll sell those. But really, again, it goes back to don't throw anything away because it could be vintage. You think it's old, but it's actually vintage. And again, that's where it skips a generation where these younger people are really loving this vintage. I pick up some cute shoes once in a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are from like the 90s, which doesn't seem vintage, but it is now. So, but those are great things and pieces you pick up. So definitely don't throw it away.
So I was cleaning out my bin that I had from high school that just had all my stuff from high school, like the old dead flowers from my prom,
Lovely.
all of it. But then the only thing that was in there that was worth money was a T-shirt from the Rolling Stones concert. And
Yes.
it was like in perfect condition because it had been in this bin since
Oh my
1980,
gosh.
whatever. We're not talking about
No,
that.
we're not.
And so I was really, really young. It was my first concert. My dad took me. But anyway.
What a great concert too, man.
I know, right?
Yeah,
My
it's like
first concert
spoiled.
was the Rolling
Yes.
Stones. But anyway, so this T-shirt, and I looked it up, and it's worth like $350. This T-shirt.
Yes.
But of course, my daughter's like, "Mom, I want that." So anyway, she has it.
She has it.
But
Enjoy it.
yeah,
See,
and
those are those
she does,
things
and
that
she's
should enjoy.
wearing it. I'm like, "Be careful, Cole. Watch that, Cole. Do you know that's an expensive T-shirt?" But anyway.
You can hang that up. It's done.
It's gone. It's fine. So, but yeah, so some of that stuff that doesn't seem like it's going to be, and you didn't pay a lot for it in the beginning,
Right.
Will have more money later.
Yes, some things do hold value.
Yeah.
I mean, jewelry holds value. Jade and things like that will hold value. Depends on the furniture, but I mean, it's more those little collectible things that really hold their value more than some other things.
Well, and I think that's why you might be in a house that's 1,000 square feet, but that person might have collected, I don't even know, things from somebody who was famous and now is not
Yeah.
with us or something. Or
Signed photographs, we've had those.
Yeah.
You can find people that have traveled. A lot of this area here, we have military, right? So a lot of them land here.
Yeah.
And so you get those, again, one-of-a-kind pieces, and you're like, what is this? And how much is this worth? Kind of thing. But you get that because they're world travelers, but that doesn't mean they were wealthy.
Yeah.
They just traveled with the military. So it's another great
what
way to
was
get back.
something that you found that you were just surprised that was, really worth more money? Can you think of something that was like, ooh, that was such a cool thing?
Unexpected.
Yeah.
So we just recently did this home here in the area about 3 weeks ago, and it was a cute little jade jar. I thought it was just like a little jar with a lid. It actually was an incense burner. By the time you do your research, you figure out what it truly is. But it was worth over $600, and it's only like this big. It's not very big, maybe 4 inches, 5 inches, in an oval. I was shocked on that. So
Yeah.
we get shocked by certain items, and sometimes not kid-friendly items that we find too.
Yeah.
So, but I think that was the coolest. Was just recently finding that, and I was like, wow, I would not have thought that would have been
It's
$500 or
just this little
$600.
thing, and it's $600.
Yeah. So that's why I say it doesn't have to be a wealthy person. This person traveled the world also, not military, but they traveled the world and they found a lot of really cool things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I like
love
that path when somebody bought something and didn't maybe invest a huge amount on the front end, and then it's grown for them in value
Yeah.
versus I spent a lot, so I need to make a lot from it.
Back to the antique
Yeah.
road show.
Yes.
Like, I bought this. Oh, that was fake.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, yeah, that's Antique Roadshow.
Yes. Yeah, that's funny.
Yes.
So in general, what things that sell best at the estate sales and what things don't really sell?
I think the things that will sell best are usually the smalls. So we will sell, like I said before, the cleaning supplies and all the yard stuff goes out the door fast. And
Which
then
is something nobody would ever keep. Like they would always
they
think
would always
have
throw
to-
that away. Yeah, they throw it away. Food is another thing. If you're downsizing or moving or lost a loved one, food sells. I mean, just because it has the expiration date, that's for the stores. You probably have another 9 months or maybe a year left. again, check with your local grocery store on that one. But those are things that will sell. People come to that. It's like almost like grocery shopping is what they do at estate sales. They're buying all those things. People will buy towels, bath towels and sheets, and they buy them for to donate to the dog centers, all the ones around here.
Yes.
So those are the things that go quickly. Kitchen items, if you've got some nice pots and pans, those are out the door like that. I'm trying to think of what else. Like bathroom things will sell, mostly kitchen. And then usually the furniture starts trickling out the second day, and then the third day by the third day. So, and a lot of people too, bringing this up, they expect you to sell everything in the home.
Yeah.
Which is what we try to give them a realistic. I'm like, about 60% or so, maybe a little bit more again, will sell in the home. So again, depends on competition and how many people you have during an estate sale. The last couple of weeks we've only had 3 estate sales, and we were 2 of the 3. So we sold a lot because they come out every day. So the expectations are high, but again, just trust the process.
Yeah, you can't always know.
No,
Yeah, you
you
can't
don't
always
know.
know. But I love something about your service that I do love is that once the estate sale is over, you guys just kind of keep going with it. So you have some other options.
Options.
You have options. So talk about what that you guys offer in that
And that
afterwards.
too. Well, I'll give you guys a little plug too, because it's great. If they don't have a realtor too, we're able to, find the realtor for them and have you guys come in and talk to them too, which has really been helpful.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 80% already have a realtor, the other 20% don't.
Yeah.
But when they don't, it's like, I'm like, hey, you've got to meet these girls. She's higher energy like me. You're going to love her. So having said that, so we're kind of like start to finish. So when we're finished with the estate sale, you have several options, as you said. You can do donation. And that goes to a good cause. And this certain person helps battered women and their children. And then after that, we have a gentleman or a crew that will come in and they'll clear out the rest of the house. So whatever didn't sell and whatever didn't donate, then he'll take it. If it's metals and scraps, things that he can scrap, he'll actually scrap them to the right place. So it's not just going to the landfill, which is even better.
Yeah.
So some of it's books recycled and some of it's metal. And then we also offer carpet cleaning, and we also offer house cleaning too. Those are things that the estate would pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Donation is free, but the other 3 items that they would pay for out of the proceeds of their account. But it's like a one-stop shop. So if you don't want to deal with any of it, most people by the time they've downsized and they moved, they don't want to go back and clean the house. They don't want to go and do all that.
Well, and the house, even a clean house, once you've moved out of it, all of the things, there's just dust behind things and all of the things. So it just needs to be clean, even if they were very clean in the first place. And sometimes,
even just a simple wipe down.
Yeah.
Or if it has to be a full deep clean, but
Yeah.
And they can choose that.
How would people know that they're working with a reputable estate company? How would they know?
We don't advertise at all. We really never have. I think it's word of mouth, and I feel like that says volumes and speaks volumes because we've never advertised. I've never put anything out. We just have a Facebook page and we have a website. Other than those 2 things, that's all we've ever done. So I think it's just word of mouth, and doing at least 60 estate sales a year is what we have done the last couple of years. That to me just speaks volume. They're all big ones, again, because they don't have to be wealthy, but I think it's just the referral. I think that's the best way.
If you do anything over and over and over again, you get much better at it.
You
and
do.
You get good at
You
it.
do.
So
Yeah.
I think that's
yeah. And then people learn that. A lot of people will come to an estate sale too to check out the estate sale company, right?
Yeah.
To see, and it's kind of like a secret shopper, if you will. So they're just seeing like how you do things, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call, and they'll say, "Oh, was that your estate sale last week?" And so I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." But so I think between them asking around, I think that's the best way to find out because. Again, it is a big trust issue, and it's a concern for us. We need to make sure they feel comfortable with us and that we feel comfortable with them when we get back. The house isn't going to be empty and we have something to sell.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a two-way street there.
Yeah.
But I think word of mouth is the best way, and it's the highest compliment that we could get.
Yeah, for
Referral.
sure.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
At what point in the process, people should call you early, for sure, but you currently working most of the time a couple months before the sale would happen? I mean, I know it's seasonal across the year, but in general, people should expect what kind of a time frame from when they are ready and call you to when they would be able to get on a calendar?
So most of us are anywhere from as little as 4 weeks and as much as 8 weeks out. So I always use a rule of thumb, especially for any of the realtors that are out there today that aren't familiar with that. I always tell them to call the estate sale person and the realtor at the same time. If it's we all meet at the same time, if it's you meet separately or whichever. But to me, it's just important to maybe even have the estate sale person in there a day before or the same day as a realtor. That way, because we can work with a realtor and say, okay, this is when we have the sale, this is when the house can be emptied, and this is when we can hand the keys over to the new owner, right? So working side by side with realtors is the most important, I think, in all of it. Because if they put their house up for sale and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we have to have a sale and we close in 30 days, that's going to be really tight for almost any company unless it's a really small sale.
Well, you have to have time to get in there and price and do all the things.
Prep it,
and you don't really want them living there when that's happening.
No.
Right.
Right.
So
right.
there's a whole bunch of pieces about the timeline of what that looks like. And I do think sometimes people think, well, I'll just sell my house and then I'll get the estate people in here. And I'm like, wait, hold on. While you're still there and moving your stuff and all that, like that
Right.
doesn't logistically work out because
Right.
you need the house to set everything up and
Right.
let, price it and get, all of
You
that.
do.
So I do think people don't realize the timeline is a little
Is a
bit
little bit
longer.
deeper. I'd say from start to finish, you need at least a solid 3 to 4 weeks. So pre-planning for that. We do make some special circumstances. Like last week, we were in Yankee Trace, and they did a sale. They came back home. They actually physically moved out Thursday, and we had the sale Saturday and Sunday. However, we were able to be in there on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday prepping for it before they left. So it can be done, but you still have to plan, and we planned that 2 months ago.
Right.
So long as you get it on the books, you plan, I think that's the biggest thing is planning it. So I'd say anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any other advice that we didn't touch on that you want to share on everything we need to know about estate sales?
If I say it once during the whole initial appointment is just don't throw anything away. Just decide what it is, and I know we've said that, but I've said this probably 5 or 6 times every initial appointment. Just take what you want, the family wants, and then just leave the rest behind. But no, I think you guys did a great job hitting everything on there. So
Well,
yeah.
I think to your point on that, it is an emotional process. The whole thing is emotional. Leaving the house, all of it is so emotional. And I think when they can just take the things that they need and then not see all the rest of it really go, I think that is actually really helpful sometimes. Sometimes I think it really is the easiest path because they just take their things and then it gets handled.
Yeah, and if they come to the sale, that always gets a little difficult too because then they're like missing and it's a difficult process for them. So you're right. It's best if they just take their things and then leave the rest, and we'll have it all handled.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you
This
so
has been
much for
so
being here.
yeah,
Thank
so
you guys.
helpful. And if you are listening and you're local to us here in Ohio, we'll have options information in the show notes. And if you're in another market, we can gather those resources for you. But if it's something you're thinking of, just ask questions and get in contact and go from there to make a strategy.
Yep.
So thank
Awesome.
you, Leslie,
Thanks for all the
so
info
much.
today,
And
Thank
Leslie.
you,
It's
girls.
always good to
Yes.
see you.
Yes, you too. It was fun.
We'll be-
Thank you.
Yeah.
back next week with another episode. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.